Hello and welcome to Charter Local Edition Northwest. I'm Dana Cowley and today we're in the great state of Oregon and we're talking to your elected representatives. My guest today is Representative Mike McLane. Thank you for being here with us.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Now explain this to the viewers. We've seen revenue increases in this state and the population is growing, particularly Portland, but yet we still have almost a $2 billion shortfall. How does that happen?
Well, the shortfall is based upon what they want to spend as opposed to what they need to spend. So it's sort of a misnomer, but we've had 30.5% more revenue than we did 6 years ago. So the challenge is spending, frankly, and we've had spending outpace population and inflation increases by 2 to 1. So this is a spending problem and it's a darn shame we're here.
Well, one of our earlier interviews, we talked to Senator Crook, who was talking about how government has grown 40% in the past decade. And so if you've got a 30% increase and 40% growth, you've got a 10% gap.
Yeah, that delta is pretty clear when you put it that way. The economy is doing very well in Oregon. You have to commend those who are paying the bills, the small businesses, the private sector. But really, the government hasn't done its job, and that's align a state government that is consistent with our priorities and what our economy provides.
When you're looking at this on a line-by-line basis, where's the increase in the spending really going so the taxpayer knows where their money is going? And then where do you feel it would be best shaved back to curtail government, but also not hurt the people?
Well, you know, everyone wants to strike that balance, but in the end, it's like being at a party where, you know, your benevolent uncle or wonderful aunt, you know, is handing out $20 bills and they're the most popular person in the room. But if you find out the next day that they put that money on your credit card, well, it doesn't feel so good. And that's kind of what's happened the last 10 years. We've had one party running Oregon. They didn't want to tell anyone no, and they've just been handing out. So you've got programs that have arisen and grown, and frankly, to now come back to them and say, hey, we can't afford that, of course, creates some angst. But the core costs are being driven by a pension system, which is one of the most generous in the history of Western civilization. I mean, it's just a massive Tier 1 obligation. And, you know, it's not the fault of the folks that, you know, did the work. The fact is unions negotiated this incredibly generous pension system. And they negotiated that with Democrats that they supported in elections. So that sort of circular negotiation created this huge pension mess. The second thing is our healthcare system is our state employees don't pay very much for their healthcare, and it's very expensive. We also have some obligations on our Medicaid program. So we're going to have to bring all those into line. The reality is that taxpayers are going to be asked to pay more for less. That's unfair to them, but we're going to have to strike a compromise, and there's no clear path at this point.
Well, I was doing a little looking, and you have introduced a bill that would prohibit lawmakers from introducing bills anonymously. I'm not sure if everyone knows that you can do that. So what was your motivation to
Well, it's called
forward?
A committee bill when the chair of a committee, and in our state, they're all Democrats, so a lot of times they're more controversial bills, like taxing coffee or assessing a $1,000 fee on used vehicles and things like that. No Democrat really wants to put their name on it, but yet they want to tax people, and so they all would love to do it, but no one be held accountable, so they use this committee bill system, which is anonymous. And, you know, it's been going on for quite a few years, and sometimes Republicans, you know, even go to committee members and say, hey, you know, here's an idea, and, you know, and let's work on it together. And sometimes a Republican says, let's make it a committee bill because I don't want it shot down because I'm a Republican. So in the end, it's a system, but that it just it was taken too far, where the Revenue Committee was using the committee bills like a suggestion box. Every idea just got turned into a bill and all this crazy stuff came out. So what I did is I said, let's just dial it back for the rest of this year and just make sure we put our names on it. And that puts a little self-regulation on this craziness coming out of these committees.
Well, and for voters too who have kids and jobs and other things to keep up on, if you want to keep tabs on what your elected representative is doing for you, if the names are a little more obscure and difficult to find, it's harder to report back to your people what you actually have or haven't done.
Well, that's true, and the greatest accountability is the reelection, of course, and when you do propose a crazy idea like trying to assess $1,000 on a used vehicle or some of the stuff that the Democrats have proposed, let's face it, there's going to be consequences in a reelection. So, but the best way to tamp down extreme behavior is to expose it to the light, and those ideas need to have ownership. Now that of course, the bill, we haven't passed that yet, so the party in charge doesn't want to pass it. So we'll see. It's March, but I'm confident we'll probably get some compromise on that by May.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate
Well,
you
thank
being
you.
here.
Loved
and
it.
Wish you good luck with what you're trying to do for your constituents this session.
Well,
and we
thank you.
appreciate you for watching. I'm Dana Cowley, and this is Charter Local Edition Northwest in Oregon.